Today, let's make sure Microsoft never brings this back. Nvidia's RTX 5080 release confirmed, Ryzen 9000 prices, and huge news on AMD's next-gen gaming CPUs. Welcome everyone to Gamer Meld. Okay, it's news time, and first up for today, Microsoft's new recall feature may in fact be gone. But let's hope it stays that way. For those who don't know, Microsoft's recall was a recent feature that they announced that was set to release with their Copilot Plus PCs. Basically, what it did was, about every 5 seconds or so, it took a screenshot of what you're doing. And then it uses AI to kind of piece it all together, and you can search for certain things that you've done in your past. And while they may sound like an okay idea for all of a millisecond before you realize it sounds terrible, because it means that Microsoft has access to basically everything you've ever done on your computer ever. And of course, that's a complete nightmare for literally anyone anywhere who cares anything about privacy. And so with good reason, there was a pretty big backlash. And because of that, Microsoft ended up stating, okay, we're not going to include it in the first release of it. Instead, we're going to let insiders check it out and see how they like it. I mean, the response was completely absurd. Who cares what insiders think? At least if you ask me, this is a terrible idea regardless, but that's what they were doing. Well, looks like the newest insider build does not include it. As you can see right here, it says, on Tuesday, June 18th, the same day that Copilot Plus PCs went on sale, Microsoft stopped distribution of this build of Windows Insider. They said that they've temporarily paused the rollout of Windows 11, and then on June 19th, Microsoft came out with a new Windows Insider build, and it's missing all traces of recall. And of course, this has made people think that maybe Microsoft is going to be going back on this feature altogether. But I do want to caution you, because this could easily just be something where they're trying to make people more or less forget about it and then slowly try to ease it into a Windows build. So let's make sure that they don't do that. Well, this is good news that maybe, just maybe, they are getting rid of it. I will, of course, keep an eye out on this, and if this happens, I'll let everyone know. But for now, it does look like it's good news. And next up for today, Nvidia's upcoming RTX 5080 looks set for release. But before I get to that, did you know that even AMD recently had their data stolen by hackers? So what chance do me and you have at keeping our data safe? Luckily, there's one service that does exactly that for all of our devices, and they sponsored today's video. I'm of course talking about private internet access, the VPN I trust to hide my IP address and secure my internet connection through their encrypted tunnel. But private internet access does so much more than the average VPN, like the fact that you can unlock region-specific content on major streaming services with their awesome no-log policy, so you can be sure that they never store your data. And if it's not stored, it can't be stolen or lost. But the best part is that one subscription lets you protect an unlimited number of devices. And when you visit my link in the description, you'll get a whopping 83% off, bringing it down to just $2.03 a month. Once again, that's $2.03 a month when you visit my link in the description below. Now, back to the story. A new video was just released from Gamers Nexus with Kingpin, who, if you don't know, is an extreme overclocker that worked for EVGA for years. I'm talking he actually had his own line of GPUs and everything. Well, now that EVGA is no more, he's been looking for a new home, and it looks like he's partnering up with PNY, a lesser known GPU maker that's more in the professional side of things, but he saw an opportunity, and here we are. With that said, in one part of the video, the two were actually talking about Nvidia's next-gen cards, and Gamers Nexus said this.
But I spoke with, well, I can't name them, I guess, but I spoke with several of the board partners, and they're all like, yeah, 5080 end of year. 5080 end of year. 5080 end of year. So,
definitely.
So yeah, there was a lot of talk about Nvidia's RTX 5090 up until this point, likely releasing first, but it looks like they're actually set to release their 5080 first, and it's apparently set for this year. And next up for today, while talking pricing, if you remember in one of my recent videos, I actually shared the fact that Ryzen 9000 desktop CPUs were recently listed online, with the Ryzen 9 9950X costing right around $600 US. Now, if you remember at the time, I mentioned that I don't typically go over this kind of early pricing like this, just because a lot of times retailers up the pricing by quite a bit to what it actually is. But given the fact that this is right around $100 less than what the 7950X went for, I certainly felt that that was really important, especially because once again, they typically price them higher than what they actually release at. Well, just recently, there's actually a couple stories here. This first part is that just recently, the 8000G series lineup got a price drop. And we know that this isn't just some small sale because it's new prices across the entire lineup. For starters, we have the Ryzen 7 8700G, which is now at $299, down from $329. Then we have the 8600G, which is down to $199 from $229, and then the 8500G down to $159 from $179. Obviously, this isn't a huge drop, but it seems pretty clear that AMD is gearing up for their next-gen Ryzen 9000 release. And this is where the really big stuff comes here because, according to a new video from Moore's Law is Dead, he actually gives us some early pricing, and it's looking really, really good. As you can see right here, starting off just to show you where this comes from, it says some distributors have just had pre-market pricing loaded into their systems for Zen 5. He then takes that and extrapolates the final pricing from what that markup was last gen. And assuming AMD won't massively increase margins, this should be right around the pricing that we can expect. And as you can see, it says the Ryzen 9 9950X could in fact be $600. It could be as much as $650, but it actually could be a drop of upwards of $100 from last gen. Then we have the 9900X, $449 to $499, the 9700X, $329 to $379, 9600X, $249 to $299. Now that $299 is what it was last gen, but even that one could see a drop. So we could seriously see a drop across the entire board. Now, as you can see right here, he mentions that as of 6/13, no retailer has received final pricing yet, but that's 6/13 while all of this came out 6/17. So there's a chance that they actually did get final pricing, which is why we're starting to see this on retailers. And all of this really seems to be lining up to make AMD's next gen Ryzen CPUs even cheaper than their current gen. And of course, anytime that we get a price reduction, I'm always going to be happy just because, especially I'm looking at you, Nvidia, just because as of late, pricing has been getting completely and utterly absurd. And lastly for today, also in one of my recent videos, to which, as you can tell, lots of awesome stuff comes out from my videos, so if you're not already subscribed and you love PC hardware news, make sure you subscribe to GamerMeld. Either way, if you did see that recent video, you know that AMD's own marketing director, Don Walagrowski, recently stated, quote, that they're working actively on really cool differentiators to make next generation of 3D V-Cache even better. Well, it looks like we now know how they plan to do it, and it's huge. Also, in that recent video from Moore's Law is Dead, as you can see, I actually kind of took a piece out, and that is what this is talking about. And in it, as you can see, according to him, multiple AMD sources communicated to him that the Zen 5 X3D may have less limitations on boost clocks, meaning the clocks should be able to get even closer to regular Ryzen 9000. And get this, it actually looks to have overclocking support, though there are apparently some issues with that, so we can't 100% confirm that it's going to happen, but based on Don Walagrowski's statements, yeah, it really does seem likely. But it doesn't stop there. Also, according to him, he's actually been told that the 9950 X3D could have two X3D CCDs. For those who don't really know, current gen 7950 X3D actually has an asymmetric chiplet design, one with 3D V-Cache and one that is just a standard CCX. And the reason why they did this, according to AMD at the time, is because while yes, you are going to get more gaming performance by having both of them with 3D V-Cache, it's simply not worth the drop in clocks that you're going to get, especially because a lot of people are going to be using these for more than gaming, so it's just not worth the drop in clocks that you get while having 3D V-Cache. But If this is right, and it's going to have less limitations on boost, meaning the clocks are going to be much closer to the regular 9000 non-X3D series, it's almost certainly going to be worth it now, which means next gen's X3D is likely going to have even a bigger boost in gaming performance over the non-X3D chips. And given the fact that Intel's next-gen Lion Cove looks to only have around an average of 14% IPC increase, moving from the already 16% increase with Ryzen 9000 to then the likely much bigger increase with X3D, at least in games, seriously, Intel could be in some huge trouble. And even in that video from Moore's Law is Dead, it really does sound like, from what he's hearing, that Intel will have nothing to compete. Basically, this is horrible news for Intel. So while that does it for today, are you pumped for AMD's next-gen X3D chips, or are you more excited for Nvidia's RTX 5080? Let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget to check out private internet access down in the description below. And as always, have a great day.